Hello, thanks for joining me this morning. So I'm going to be basically I'm going to be launching and building this web app for pranking my family. I've launched a few things now and I have a pretty reliable, repeatable process. So I'm going to show you how to do that, show you how I do this, and hopefully they'll be useful to you. There's a series of different things that you need. So when you're launching a web app, you basically need hosting, a domain name, and you need the code that runs the site. And so the code can be anything from like a simple static site to a super complex stack with Docker and Kubernetes and stuff like that, and infrastructure and databases. Today I'm just building a static site, so that's all this app needs. So that makes it a bit simpler to build and launch and deploy. For hosting, I'm using a Digitalocean VPS. I've got a box that I run about 30 sites off from one $10 a month DigitalOcean box. And I use something called Piku to do the deployment, but I'll show you more about that later. So if I can just pull up my, got this editor here and shrink myself down into the corner. There we go. So to deploy a website, as I mentioned, we need three things. So we need basically a domain name, and that one's not actually essential. Some deployment systems, Netlify and Heroku and stuff, let you deploy without a domain name. They just give you a default kind of one. And you need hosting, so somewhere for your website to live. And depending on how complex the thing you're building is, you might want different types of hosting. And there's a wide range of everything from managed solutions to totally custom stuff. And my stuff tends towards more of the custom end of town. So I ship on a Linux VPS. And I'll show you a bit more about that later. And finally, you need the site itself. So that's the site code. And so these are the three main things that you need to launch the site. So just to tell you about the actual application I'm building. So I had this idea, I'm a dad and I love to prank my kids. And I discovered a while back that you can send any content from any Chrome tab in the Google Chrome browser to so you can cast it. Basically, you can do cast. I'm sure everyone knows about this, and it shows you your different TVs, and then you just click on one, and it sends whatever's in the current tab to the over to that TV. And when I found this out, as many people have, I realized it's a great way to prank your family. Basically, you can, while they're in the middle of watching something, send an annoying photo or a message, and usually results in a lot of shouting and anger at you. And I guess that's the purpose of a prank. So that's the app I'm going to build today. Basically, when you try and do this, every time I've tried to do this, it's a bit of a pain. You got to like get the right content into your tab and then send it. And if you're doing something very custom, that's not always the simplest thing to do. So I'm going to build this app which is just very simply putting text and images. So you'll load it up, put text and images, cast, and it makes the whole process something you can do in like seconds rather than having to fiddle around with different applications. So yeah, that's the idea. Let's see, what else do I have to talk about? Yep, so I'm just going to be building this as a web app and deploying it and launching it on Product Hunt. I'll be doing the launch, so San Francisco time, midnight is 3 p.m. my time. It's currently just after 9 a.m. So I'll spend today building this and I'll talk through what I'm doing as I'm going and deploying it, and then I'll do the launch on Product Hunt. So making the page and getting it up there. And then after midnight, San Francisco time, which is 3 p.m. here, it'll go live. So yeah, let's look at the steps we're going to go through. So the first thing we're going to do is register a domain name. And then once we've got the domain name, normally you'd register the domain name probably after you'd built the thing, because it's a classic mistake to start building something, well, to register the domain name first. Lots of indie hacker type people have a heap of domain names that they never end up using. So, but in this case, I know that I have to launch it today, so I'm going to go ahead and just register that domain name and lock it in. And then I'm going to do some research and prototyping, and then start coding. So building the actual site itself, build the site. And then I'm going to do some design stuff like logos, screenshots, things like that, stuff that you need for the actual product hunt launch. And then finally, deployment. And the order of these may change. I may deploy it first and then get the screenshots and logos and stuff, but we'll see. And then finally, the launch on Product Hunt. Yep. So that's what we're going to do today. Register the domain name, do some research and prototyping on how to build the app, build it, then do some design stuff, get some content, deploy it, get it up online on the domain name, and then finally launch. So it's a classic programmer mistake to underestimate the amount of time that something takes, and I'm going to try. I think what I've come up with is a fairly simple idea that I can implement just as a front-end site, and I should be able to get it shipped by 3 p.m. So I should probably get started. Right. So now I've got my got two browser windows open here. I've got my got a browser window for working in. So I'm actually going to start coding this just using this slingcode.net, the online IDE that I sometimes use. And because that's a simple way to get up and running quickly with a web app. And since this is just a front-end web app, it's a good way to get started. I don't have to. So what I'm going to do is use slingcode to do the prototyping, because I can get this very quick loop of making changes and seeing what happens. And then once I've got the basic thing working, I'll open up my actual normal editor and Git and all that kind of stuff to turn it into a proper project. But first of all comes the domain name. So the domain name I've picked, I use Gandhi. So when you register a domain name, basically you use something called a domain name registrar. And I have to use, so I've got two browsers I'm using today, Firefox and Chrome. Chrome I'm going to use for the development and testing because it has the cast feature, and Firefox is my regular browser, so that has all my logins and stuff. So I've got to use that for registering the domain name, etc. and logging into DigitalOcean when I set up the VPS. So the first thing I'm going to do is register the domain name. So I use Gandhi.net, and you just go here, and I'm actually going to do this outside the view of the camera just in case one of the people watching jumps in and registers it first. Not that I don't trust you, but so I'm going to say. So remember that the idea of this app is using Chromecast to prank people. So my domain name is basically a name that fits with that, and I like to get the .com. So there's something about getting a .com domain name. It's a bit old school, but yeah, it's makes it feel more real for some reason. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this. And the reason I'm doing the domain name early is because it takes a little while for the IP address to propagate. So you want to get the domain name, set the IP address, and then make sure that's underway before you start coding. I mean, we've got hours, but just in case. All right, so I'm on to the second step of my shopping cart here. You can see that loading up. And I'm going to do the payment. Pay So I'm purchasing the domain name here. And there we go. The order's been placed. And now that should show up in my dashboard any second. Right, so here's the domain name in progress. And let's see. Usually it doesn't take too long. So the domain name I've picked is castpranker.com. All right, well, we'll just give that a minute. Anyway, so we can get on with the next steps while that domain name is getting purchased. So we've done that one. So, well, once it comes through, what I'll have to do is point the IP address at the server that I use. But let's move on to the research and prototyping phase. So the idea of this is, as I said, it's a simple way to build a very quick page with some content, some images, and then go to the Chromecast tab here and do cast and send it to the TV where your family are watching TV. And so so what I thought of was the basic page could just be an empty page with a content editable section in it. So content editable is like a way to turn any HTML or HTML div element or any kind of page into an editable page. It's kind of like a built-in WYSIWYG browser that's in the inside the browser already. I'll just pull up this is a great resource, is MDN, the Mozilla Documentation Network or something like that. So I'll do MDN content editable. So it's always a good idea to figure out, to use them to check out the documentation and see what you're working with. So yeah, you've got this HTML element.content editable. So it's a property of the HTML element. So when you build a page, you can set this property on your HTML element, and it allows the user to modify that HTML element when they click in there. And so this is what we'll be using. The other bit of research I also did was to see if anyone had built anything that was close to what I wanted to use, what I want to build. So like, you know, there's so much stuff out there that's libraries and other and demos, examples, stuff that you can often build upon to make your job much quicker. So for example, if I was trying to build this 10 years ago, well, Chromecast didn't exist. So, but yeah, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be building on didn't exist at all. And so today it's much easier and faster to ship a website or a web app like this than it used to be, because you can build on top of all this great stuff. And so before I came online here, I was doing a bit of research to see, has anyone built a simple content editable demo that I can leverage, can use as the basis for what I'm building. And I found this, what's this thing called again? CodePen, yes. I found this CodePen by Shokeen. So thank you, Shokeen. Here's his profile. And he's made this very helpful CodePen that is literally pretty much 90%, well, 80% of what I want. It's a content editable area, and he's made these nice little buttons here. Oh, actually I've modified that, so I'm just going to go ahead and reload so you can see what the original looks like, because I was tinkering with it before I started this. So you can see what he's done here is created a nice little interface, and he's got the WYSIWYG editor here. So this is just the content editable. This section here is the content editable element, and you can go in here and you can type hello, and you can do things like setting this stuff. So this is actually like pretty close to what I want to build anyway. So this is a great basis to start from. I'll have to change it a fair bit because it doesn't exactly match. You know, you don't want to be coming in here and doing this to do the casting before you build the page. So yes, let's get started. basically what I'm going to do is take this code pen and I'm going to rebuild it in Sling Code, the editor here. So let's go to New App. And if you want to use this editor yourself, it's at slingcode.net. And in the top right corner, you just click Try It Now. And you get this basic page. And then you can go Run Next to Code. And it opens up this little tab type of thing here with a blank page. And the thing about Sling Code is when you save the page, it live reloads on the right hand side here. So I'm just going to do Control S, and you can see this hello world is the hello world we have here. And you can modify this and say cool beans and save that one, and it straight away updates. So I'm going to take this code pen and I'm going to grab the HTML from it. I'm going to actually just insert that right in here. So that will become the body of our document. And this is content editable, so that's already working. And you can see on the actual editor here, it's got the content editable attribute of that HTML tag set there. So we've got our div and we've got the content editable attribute set. Yeah, so we're already up and running. This is the beginning of what our final app will look like. Now he's got some nice styles here, which I will also yoink. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to go, just to keep things a bit cleaner, I'll put this in style.css. Bang that in there. And I'll save that one. And then I want to actually load the style into the page, which I can never remember the exact syntax of. I think it's link rel equals style sheet, and then is it href style.css? But of course, if you just Google link rel or link style sheet, then you will get an example right there of what the correct syntax is. So yeah, we've loaded our style, and let's save that. And you can see it's pulled in the styles that Monty here has made. And it's not quite complete because we also need, he's got this bit of JavaScript here, which yeah, we'll get to in a sec. And he's also loading Font Awesome. So he's got these FA icons. So the reason there's no icons showing up here is because he's using Font Awesome, but I haven't loaded Font Awesome into this page myself. Before I do that though, I'm just going to add a script. Source equals main.js and create that. Main.js. I'm going to paste this in here. So what this code here is doing is setting the background color of text. If that, yeah, I'll show you that in a minute anyway. But and we probably will add a bit more interactivity ourselves in this JavaScript. So yeah, got our page up and running. We need to import Font Awesome. All right, so how do we do that? What version of Font Awesome is he using? I think in CodePen you can say this is a library I want, but I can't remember exactly how you do that. Okay, he's loading jQuery. Interesting. And he's loading Font Awesome. So we'll just grab this and say, so it's, Font Awesome comes in via a CSS tag. So we're going to do another link rel equals style sheet. And we'll dump that one in there. And when we save that, we should now get our icons. Yeah, so got icons. Cool. Now, All right, so our next step is, what was that piece of JavaScript you loaded? jQuery. I don't think we actually need this. Let's just see if this interface now that we've copied actually works. So if we select that and go, okay, those background colors don't have colors, interesting. But let's change this to a p tag. What happens? No, okay, looks like we do need jQuery. So yeah, he's using jQuery here. Ah, okay, yes, he's saying, right, this is the meat of how his thing works. So what it's doing is saying for every A, these are all Ahrefs, so they're not buttons, but they're actually like links. And he's saying for every link in the toolbar, so for each one of these, run this function. And what the function does is look at the data attribute called command. So if we go back to the HTML here, and we look at the bold here, so that's this bold button here. He's got this attribute data command equals bold, right? So what this piece of code is pulling out that command, and setting it as command, and so it's saying if the command is h1 or h2 or p tag, so these ones here, then format the block, so exec command, so run this command in the document. If it's these fore color or back color, so these two here, then exec a different command. If it's create link or insert image, so these ones here, then do that. And finally, the catch-all is just to run the command, so whatever's in that command tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up this, I'm going to get jQuery in there, because that's why it's not working. Like basically this, if we look at the console here, and we look at the errors, it says uncaught reference $ is not defined on the console. And that's because jQuery hasn't been imported. So I need to get jQuery in there. So I'm going to go back to the code pen and I'm going to look at the version of jQuery he's brought in here. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm just going to go here in the index and go before my script tag. Let's create a new script tag and put that one in there. Yep. And when I save that, we should now get the functionality that we want. So if I select that and do P, nope. All right, let's have a look at the console and see what's going on here. Save that again. Okay. Why are these not doing anything? There's no errors, so let's print this out. It's going to change this to a proper block, and I'm going to say console.log hello. And then we should see, when we click a button that's, oh, hang on, okay, these p tag, so this part of the code will get run when you click P, H1 or H2. If command equals H1, H2 or p tag, then console.log one of these. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to try it. Click P, and what happens on the console? Hello, hello, one of these. So yeah, it is firing off, but it's just not doing the exec command. I think this might be a bug in the editor itself. So what I'm going to do is, we've got our basic files here. I'm going to drop out of this and I'm going to go to the command line using Vim and the normal editor that I use and start coding that way. I would have had to do this anyway so that I can do the Git commits and the deployment and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to leave Sling Code now and head to the command line. So let's set up castpranker.com. Oops. And the first thing, hang on, let me just make my terminal a bit bigger so you can see what's going on. 22, is that big enough? Hopefully that's big enough. Yes, so I'm going to do git init to create an empty Git repository, and all this does is create the file .git. It's a good way to start a project. And then I'm going to do echo this into package.json. So package.json is the way to tell Node which libraries and dependencies you're going to use. This is a front-end application, and it's not going to use many libraries at all, because it's purely just going to use like browser tech pretty much. There is one thing I'll use though, which is live server. And what this does is just whenever you modify your front-end code it'll reload it into the browser. So basically you can be continuously updating and seeing the freshest version. I'll show you that in a sec. So I'll create that, and then I'm going to go. Now I'm going to actually download from Sling Code what I've built so far. So I'm going to say, if I can remember how to do this, I think I'll go back. Let me just save all these. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say download. Get the zip file, Untitled. I'm going to move that zip file from my download folder to here. I'm going to unzip it. So, and then move all the files out into here. Okay, so now we have some basic code here to get us up and running. And I'm going to open a new tab, and in that tab I'm going to run the live server. npx, so npx is Node's way of running a command that you've installed into the current project. And so I'm going to say npx live server and no browser, because I don't want it to launch a browser window, and port 8000 because that's the port I always like to run on. Yeah. So now you see the live server starting up here, and it's serving the website on the local host. Oh, hang on. So a bit of a, is it like that? Yeah, there we go. So that was, it thought that I was serving something called port. Anyway. So instead of using Sling Code here, I'm going to go to localhost, and you can see the project is here again that we'd started with in Sling Code, and except that now it's being served from my local here using this program live server, this library. And that's actually the only Node library I'm going to use today. You know, if you're building more complex front-end stuff, you would want to use many other libraries and you'd npm install them. But I'm just going to be using purely browser tech, and I'm not going to have any dependencies. Yes, so now we'll switch back to the other tab, and we'll start editing the code. I'm just going to quickly put the size of my Vim font up so that you can see what I'm doing. So let's do that to 20, see how that looks. All right, so hopefully you can see that code okay. This is our index.html file. I'm also going to load our style.css and our main.js. So yeah, I've got these three files open: index, main, and style. Now, before I jump back into the code, I'm going to go check how our domain registration is going. If you recall, these are the steps we're going to do today. So register a domain name, research and prototyping, which is what I'm doing at the moment. Build the site. Well, I'm kind of in between research and prototyping and building the site. Then do some designery type stuff, logos, screenshots, stuff like that. Deployment, so pushing it up onto the domain name that I registered at the start, and then finally the launch. So we're up to sort of this one and this one. But let's check in on that domain name and see if it's been processed yet. So I'm going to go back to Gandhi, which is the domain name registrar I use, and I'm going to look for cast. There we go. Cast Pranker. So that's the domain name I registered earlier at the start of this live stream. And what I want to do now is point this domain at the machine where I'm going to be deploying the site. So basically my server will know that it's serving this at castpranker.com, and castpranker.com will be pointing back at my server. So I'm going to go, the way you do that is pretty simple. Go into DNS Records. Now, most domain name registrars have the same types of options, so it'll be very similar wherever you register your domain name, whatever company you use. I like Gandhi, but there's hundreds of them, maybe even thousands. So what you want to do is go to DNS Records, so Domain Name Server Records, and you want to change the main A record here to point wherever you're going to deploy your site or your web app. So I'm going to click Edit in there, and all of my, as I mentioned at the beginning, I have a single Digitalocean machine that serves all of my sites, well, almost all of my sites. It's got about 30 sites on it now. And so I'm going to put this site on the same box. And the way I'm going to find the IP, which I don't remember what the exact IP is, but I'll just ping one of my other sites. So Sling Code is actually running on that same box. So I'll ping that, and I can see the IP address here is 209.97.172.193. So I'm just going to copy that and go back to Gandhi, and paste that over the IPv4 address here. So what I'm telling it is create a DNS record, well, rather modify the DNS records A record to point at this domain. And I'll update that one. And so now castpranker.com should be pointing at this IP address. And I can test that by going ping castpranker.com. Now, it might not have taken yet, so it might have the old IP, although it looks like it's gone straight through. So, hooray, castpranker.com is now pointing at my server. Of course, my server doesn't know anything about castpranker.com, so if I try to load that up, it will just give me a 403 forbidden, because my server is basically, the traffic is going there and my server's saying, hey, I don't know what this site is. So that won't work until I've hooked it up. I'm just getting a weird message from keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently keyframes are not being... YouTube is telling me something strange is happening. Please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently keyframes are not being sent often enough, which can cause buffering. The current keyframe frequency is 8.4 seconds. Right. I have no idea how to fix that. Perhaps in a bit I will drop off, I'll disconnect and reconnect quickly, but I'll do that in a minute. Cool. Maybe there's a setting in OBS for this. Anyway. So yeah, where are we? We're at castpranker.com. Actually, I'm just going to pause for one moment. I'm going to stop the stream and then reconnect immediately. Please bear with me. Alrighty. So yes, we are. So where we're up to is we've pointed castpranker.com at the IP address for my server using the DNS editor of at Gandhi, where I registered the domain earlier. Yeah. So register domain name. That one is done. So let's go back to building the site. Okay, so we have our basic content editable website up and running here. And, this is not too bad, but for the purposes of what we're doing, wanting to cast to prank our family members, this is not that great. This interface doesn't quite fit the use case. So some things I want to do, actually hang on, before I do that, I should actually test that it's working, because that wasn't working before. Yeah, so it's still not working. So now we have to debug why this is working on this code pen. So you can do like h1 tag, sorry, you can do h1 and it turns that into an h1, but it's not working on my local copy. So what we're going to do is look at the console and figure it out. Just going to reload it and then see if we get any messages. No, nothing's happening. Okay. So let me just review everything to make sure everything's hooked up right. So we're loading main.js, we've got jQuery loaded, we've got the font awesome style sheet, we've got some styles in there. The only thing that's, I wonder if maybe my body tag here, this style, is overriding something. So what I'll do is I'll comment that out. And when I save, that reloads. Yeah, no, still not doing anything. So this is a significant portion of when you're building something, is stuff like this, where you're basically just debugging some issue, and quite often it's something which is quite confounding. You know that it should work, and then it turns out it's some little thing that you've forgotten to do, and or some semicolon you've missed that holds you up for a little bit of time. Now there are ways that you can reduce this kind of thing. Some programming languages are more conducive to not running into these kind of issues. But I just wanted to get something up and running fast, so that's why I'm using just basic web tech. But of course that comes with its own challenges, like what we've run into here. So let's debug this. Right. So I'll go back and I'll just print some, print statements. They're always a good way to. Okay, now it's not even printing out one of these when I click. When I click the H1 tag, I should be getting one of these. Let's just see if this is even taking it all. So I should see hi when I click anything on the toolbar. I'm just going to reload the page and click anything on the toolbar, and still nothing. Okay, what about just printing something just when this script loads to make sure the script is being loaded? I'm just going to re-indent this. So let's say script loaded. And now in my dev tools, I see script loaded. Okay, so the script is being loaded, but this .toolbar a reference is not catching those clicks because console.log is never being run, which is strange to say the least. So we've got div class equals toolbar, and we've got a bunch of a tags. So that's what should be firing off when they're clicked. Maybe is jQuery not being loaded correctly? Right, so let's print out jQuery. Console.log $. Do we even have jQuery? Now I remember from back in the jQuery days, usually you'd put this inside a document ready. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe the document's not ready when I'm running this. In fact, of course it isn't. Right, okay, so that's the source of the problem. If you'll notice, the script tag is being run here, main.js. What's happening is, when it comes into this bit of the code, it's binding this click to .toolbar a. However, the rest of the document hasn't actually loaded yet. So it's trying to bind that to something that doesn't exist yet, which is why nothing's working. Cool, that's a fun little bug. So the old classic jQuery days, what you would do is, I think it was like $document, then you'd go like .ready, is that right? And then you'd put everything inside this. So what that does is says, wait until the document is ready. So wait until we've got all this other stuff registered and on the page before running this code and trying to hook up the toolbar. So let's save that and see if my theory is correct. Okay, so now if we click p tag, hooray, it works. So we figured out the source of the bug. As I said, this is like 90% of programming. Well, actually, it's like about 40% of programming. And then 40% is like just trying to get the tooling working and messing around with libraries, trying to get things integrated, hook things together, deployment, that kind of stuff. So like the actual coding part of programming quite often turns out to be not that much. Like you end up a lot of time like tinkering, fixing bugs, that kind of stuff. And I think that's what maybe scares off beginners sometimes, is they think it's supposed to be this thing where you like sit down and you just write code and everything magically happens. But actually a lot of it is messing around with like the tools, the environment and stuff like that. So anyway, as I was saying, we've got this basic content editable website here, and we want to be able to cast it so that we can prank our family members. This, like, it's reasonable. We could do that. We could write some text. We could put a little image in there, but this interface to me doesn't feel optimal for that task. I actually want it to be more minimal. I want less editing options. I want the text to be bigger. I don't want there to be a border, and I want to be able to just like copy an image from some other site and paste it in there. So let's make those changes to the design. Dave has just asked a question over on the chat here, but there's a bit of lag, so I'll just reply to him. Okay, so yes, I'm going to update the design of this. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this box and make the text bigger. All right. Actually, before that, at the moment I've got this title here, which is untitled, and that doesn't look that great. So I'm going to change it to, because I'll forget to do this if I don't do it now, and I'll deploy it live, and we'll have a site, castpranker.com, which just has a name of untitled. So instead of that, I'm going to go castpranker, prank your household. What should I say? Family? Household? Prank your family with Chromecast. There we go. So that's our new title, and change to just meta tag here for SEO purposes. So Cast Pranker is a simple web app to prank your family using Chromecast. Yes. So, right, now let's fix the design. First thing I'm going to do actually is just remove a bunch of these buttons, because we don't want to be able to center or left align or whatever. All we want is just like text, image. We don't want to be able to indent. We don't need to be able to add links, because no one's going to click a link. It's going to be cast on the TV. We don't have bullet points. Maybe bullet points. That'll be some kind of weird prank if you're writing bullet points on there. But I don't know. People might want to do that. So let's remove some of these. Okay, so each of these has its own ahref, and undo, repeat, that's all right, we'll keep those in there. Italic, bold, italic, underline, strike through, those are all good. Justify left, I'm going to get rid of that. Justify right, justify full. Indent and outdent, certainly don't need those. And I'm going to get rid of lists, whatever. We don't need lists. And I'm going to add an h3 tag Oh, I'll do that later actually if I need it. Create links, we don't need links. Unlink, we don't need unlinks. Insert image. Now I'm going to actually take out the insert image there, because if I had it in there I would have to handle uploading files and all this kind of stuff. But instead what I'm going to do is just show people how to copy from another site and paste into the content editable, which works quite well. So I've got H1, H2, so basically 2 levels of headers and a P tag, subscript and superscript. Does anyone use that? Yeah, all right, I'll leave it in there. So I'll save this, and I'm going to change the text to cast pranker, and then I'm going to say edit this text, and then edit this text, paste images, and cast this page to prank your family! Exclamation mark. Yes. Right. Okay, I've lost my window. That's not my window. That's not my window. There's my window. All right, so we got this stuff. Now, the other thing you want to do is when you're casting, as you can see, we've removed those buttons. But so if you're actually doing a Chromecast, you don't want your family to see this interface. That's very jank. So what I'm going to do is make it so that when the mouse is hovered over this area, this interface is visible, and then when you mouse out, it disappears. And I can actually do that quite simply using CSS. You know what? I've forgotten to do a Git Commit. So now that I've got this project in a basic skeleton state, I'm going to commit it. So I'm going to go back to my command line now and say, okay, what are these files do I want? I'm going to create. Now, when you do git status, it shows you the files that are in the folder. And you can see these .swap files here. These are Vim swap files, so I don't want Git to care about those. So I'm going to create a file called git ignore, and I'm going to put .*.swap in there. So now when I do git status and save it, I get those files, and Git doesn't care about them anymore. Git's going to ignore them. I'm also going to ignore node modules because you only really need to have package.json versioned. People say you should version package lock, but I'm not a fan of this myself. I prefer to put exact versions in my package.json. To me, package lock has always felt like a hack, but often people will commit that. Yeah, so now we have the main files left that we want Git to care about. So we've got a git ignore, which tells it it's the file we're editing now, which I'll get out of. We've got our index.html, we've got our main.js, our package.json, and our style.css. Of course, we should add a README and stuff like that, because I'll make this open source and I'll publish it up on GitHub as well. In fact, let me just quickly add that to our list of things to do. Build the site, design stuff, Git, open, what should I say? Put on GitHub. Oh no, we've got too many lines. All right, that's all right. Yeah, so publishing it on GitHub is one of the things that I'll do, so you can get this source code yourself. Yes, so let's add these files. So we can actually just go git add dot, because we want all those remaining files. And our first commit message, we could say initial commit of basic working app. Yeah. All right. So we've done our git commit. We're ready to make some more edits. This font is terrible. I think I'm going to go with Arial Bold, which comes with browsers. Is it called Arial Bold? Arial Black, which comes with browsers, and it's a nice big, impactful font, good for pranks. So I'm going to go back to my style CSS here, and I'm going to say font family Arial. I think it's Arial Black. Is that one? Misspelled black. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fairly heavy. Maybe I'll just go Arial, and I'll use the bold version. Font weight bold. All right. Yeah. All right. Cool. But how's it going to bold that? It's going to unbold. Okay. I guess that's right. Bold by default. Cast Pranker. Yeah. All right. I don't know. I'll probably change that font. I'm not sure about it. You know what? It's all about the size. Let me just change font size to, let's just start large. Cast Pranker. Okay. Yeah, that's a bit better. So what we're actually building here is what they call a 10-foot interface. And that is an interface that you could use from 10 feet away and still see everything that's going on. And the nice thing about building these interfaces is when you go to mobile, they look equally as good as when they're on a TV or on, your desktop browser. It's not entirely true, but as a rule of thumb, if you build it in that way, it'll work, fairly well across those different form factors. Okay, so I think I'm not going to make these quite so big, and I'm just going to make this big. So this is inside a div called editor, so hash editor. So I'm going to change font size in there to be in there. I'm also going to remove that box shadow. And what else have we got in here? Resize vertical, outline. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, now I've got Cast Pranker in here. What happens if I... Okay. Another thing I wanted to do was make this centered by default. Centered both the text centered, aligned in the center, and also centered vertically, so that when you type something, it's right in the middle of the screen. Because if you want to prank with just like a single word, you want to be able to just go bang, 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 cast, right? And so you want it to fill up the middle of the screen. So I'm going to actually turn this into I'm going to get this vertically centered, and we've got the old CSStricks.com CSS a guide to Flexbox, which everybody in the entire universe opens every time they have to edit a Flexbox layout in CSS. Now, Flexbox is just a way of laying things out on the page. But yeah, what I want to do is center. So I'm going to basically I'm just going to make this be one giant Flexbox center aligned, vertically centered aligned. Right, so I'm going to go back to my style here, and I'm going to say body display flex. And now what this will do is put everything side by side, because by default Flexbox does row orientation, so across. I'm going to say flex direction equals row, equals column. And what that's saying is arrange the elements on the page in columns rather than in rows. And then what I'm going to do is go, I think it's align, justify content center. So that should, I want this to be, hang on. Yeah, I want this box here, the content editable box, to be centered in the middle of the page. Right, so how am I going to do that? So I think it's maybe align items center. Okay, well that's centered my text for me, which is kind of what I wanted anyway. I know why it's not doing it. It's because my body tag, if I highlight on this body tag, the body tag is like shrunk up into the middle, into the top of the page there. So I want to make the body and the HTML tags fill the entire space. So then my Flexbox should lay this out right in the center of the screen here. Yes, so let's do that. So let's go in here, we're going to go HTML body and drink some coffee. I don't normally drink coffee very much, but I figured today was a special occasion. So these want to be height 100%. Let's fill it up. Let's see if that makes any difference yet. Again, a lot of programming is this, and building stuff is this kind of iterative back and forth, like trying something, seeing it, trying something, seeing it. So when you're setting up any kind of tooling for building stuff, you always want to, the best tooling closes that iteration loop so that you can do it very quickly. You can change some code, run it, change code, run it. And I mean, these days you've even got stuff that's like live reloading. If you code in ClojureScript, for example, you're getting your functions that you're writing injected into the live running code in real time, which is pretty fun. It does require a different style of programming because you have to be aware that functions are getting clobbered and state can be changed and stuff like that. But so we've got our simple live reloading here, which works well enough for what we're doing. Now, that's good. That's centered now. What I actually also want to do is take this toolbar and just jam it up against the top there so that it's out of the way. And so this will just be completely centered. So I'm going to position this absolutely, or maybe fixed. Yeah, I'll position it fixed at the top, and that should get it out of the way of the rest of the page. So I'm going to go to our toolbar, and I'm going to say position fixed top 0.25 EM. Yep, so that's placed our toolbar at the top there. Now, is this actually centered? Or is it being shifted? Ah, it's got a margin. Okay, I'm going to remove that margin because it looks slightly below where it should be. Margin top 20px. So let's go back to our style here. Margin top 20px. I will delete that. I may actually remove the padding because there's no it's not necessary because we're just like sticking it right in the center. There's no need for padding. Pranked. Yes. Okay. So we're getting close to the interface we want actually now. So I might just do a Git commit now that we've tweaked this into a place where it's not looking too bad. I'll basically just say layout and design tweaks. You know what? I'm going to push this up to GitHub. I'm just going to jump right ahead and do that so that, you know, if you want, you can check out the code and follow along. So I'll quickly go to my Firefox browser and go github.com, and I'll go, how do I do this? New repository. So that's what you do. Basically, you go and sign into GitHub and you say new repository, and I'm going to say castpranker.com, and I'm going to say prank your family with Chromecast. Too many exclamations. Public, yes, it's open source. I'm not going to add a README. I'll do that myself later. I've already got a gitignore license. So this is complicated because I started with someone else's code. This code pen here. Yeah, I'm not going to think about that right now. But hopefully it'll be okay to make it public domain. Anyway, so that's something you should certainly sort out when you build your own stuff, is making sure. What I'll do is I'll attribute the guy, and hopefully he'll be okay with it. And if he isn't, I'll give him CodePen. I'll give him CastPranker. So now to push that up, you're going to go down to this bit here, push the existing repository in the command line. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to just paste it straight in here. And that's pushing it up to GitHub. And now if you go to github.com/chr15m/castpranker.com, you too can get this wondrous code. Yeah, cool. So we've published it on GitHub, and that will allow me to safely be doing Git pushes and Git commits and know that the code is backed up. If something catastrophic happened to my laptop, it's fine. This important website is stored. forevermore. So let's go back here. Cast pranker. Pranked. Okay. So now, as I was saying before, I want this interface to be something where I can mouse over it and it appears, and then when I mouse out, it disappears. So what I'm going to do to make that happen is give the toolbar a class of UI. So I'm going to say in this toolbar div here, I'm going to add UI, because later I might want to put other UI stuff on here. And I'm going to actually set up a style for .uis where if the if the body is being hovered on, so first of all, .uis should be hidden. So I'm going to hide these by default. So display none. Now if I go back, my UI has disappeared. That's not centered. Anyway, let's say text align center. So now all the text is always centered. Good. And our UI is display none, but what we want to happen is when you mouse over this area, the toolbar appears. So I'm going to say body hover UI display block. So now when I hover over here, the UI appears and you can use it. And then when you're ready to cast, you mouse out and say cast, and then you click on the thing and it goes to the thing. And that's how it works. And then when you hover over, you can edit again. So I think that's a nice little hack for making this work as both a website that you can interact with and as the final result that you can see on the TV. Right, good. So yeah, so that's the basics of our app up and running. What time is it? 10 o'clock. It's taken 1 hour. Awesome. No doubt there will be other things that we run into that delay the launch. But so, whoops, didn't mean to save. What are some other things I want to do? So the main other thing I want to do is, let's just test some of these. So we can do strike through, we can do underline, we can do that thingo, which I've forgotten the word of, italic. How do you unitalic something? Okay, click, 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 click. And okay, yeah, this thing's pretty cool. You know what would be cool also is a dark mode. So if it inverts these colors, I can see people wanting to do that, like sending a page that's dark instead of light. Also, yeah, maybe we should choose a slightly better palette. Like you've got these colors here, but these colors are kind of a bit garish. So I'm going to put that as red. Ooh, okay, that's the background. Do we really want to be able to set the background? So setting the foreground here, yeah, so red, that looks good. Do you know, I might remove that background thing. Does anyone ever want to set the background? Maybe they do. Okay, so we've got our interface here. Another thing I've got to add to this page is an attribution down the bottom, dark mode. Perhaps I should make a to-do list. No. Okay, let's make a to-do list. So we're going to put a to-do list in here, just in the head tag. To-dos. This is not semantic HTML. I don't know what I'm doing. It's getting crazy. Been doing this for an hour. All right, so some things we want to do is add dark mode. We want to test images. We want to add attribution, source link. So we want to link to the source code. And we have to deploy it, which I mean, we could do pretty soon. This is probably good enough for some pranks. Yeah, okay. What happens if I do that? Does that break everything? Oh yeah, wow. Putting a to-dos tag in the head renders it on the page. Okay, so instead I'm just going to put this in a comment. That's how you do an HTML comment with like these exclamation double tag thing. All right, all right, well, I mean, let's go ahead and deploy this maybe. I'll put the attribution in. So div id equals attribution. And we're going to stick this, like we did with the other one, the fixed, we're going to stick this on the bottom. So a site by Chris McCormick. Wait, let's put it in my Twitter handle instead. That's not my name. Made with robot emoji. Robot emoji. Made with robots by me. And then in the style, we'll fix that to the bottom. So toolbar, and we've got attribution. I'm going to say text center position fixed bottom 0.25 em, and we also want to make this a UI element, so we want the attribution to disappear when we save. And I'm also going to add a link to this original code pen. So I'm going to say based on a code pen, so based on a code pen by Shokeen. Great. Okay, that's, why is that there? It should be fixed to the bottom really, but it's not. And it's not UI either. Okay, I've done something. ID attribution. So, and why isn't it disappearing? Even though it's got .ui. Hash attribution. So that should push it down to the bottom now. Attribution, ID equals attribution. Class equals UI. Yep, so, and I'm actually going to make that faded out a little bit. So I'll say I'm going to change the color of those hrefs. Okay, I will actually get back to more interesting stuff in a sec. Because another thing I think I've got to do is pick a better palette. I'm going to add that to the to-do list. So find a better palette of colors. In fact, let's do that now. So a fun thing is this site, Low Spec, where they have palettes for old school video games. And there's some really nice ones. So for my site, I want to find a palette. For my app, I want to find a palette that's soothing and yet exciting. These are all, look, let's just find a 3-color. Is there any 3-color palettes? All right, here we go. No, I want only exact 3-color palettes. Yeah, so this site is lowspec.com/palette list. It's just got a bunch of palettes that people have made. There's some really cool stuff in here. It's great for when you're building video games and you want to kind of like bring a unified aesthetic to your game, because having a nice palette really helps do that. What's that red there? So I've got this application called Gcolor, and it tells you the color of anything that's on the screen. So that's a nice red. Do you know what? Maybe that's all it is. Minimal red by drag 109. Yes. Yes, this is good. So I'm going to do an in my CSS, I'm going to use these colors. I'm going to set up some variables. And I'm going to credit drag 109 with this palette. So I'm going to say BR palette by drag 109. Minimal red 3, cool palette. Okay. So in our A tag here, what we want to do, let's define this palette up the top. Now you can use something called CSS variables to, because then if we change the palette later, we can update everything across the site by using CSS variables just by changing it in one place. So I'm going to make a palette. Okay, let's look up the syntax for CSS variables. Okay, with the var function. So usually you make a root variable, and then the rest inherit from that. So you get this, you do this root thing. Okay. So our root variable, and we're going to call it background. I'm going to call it foreground. I'm going to call it highlight. And we'll take those values from our minimal red. This one here can be highlight. And we're going to get this one fair as our background. And what we can do is when we do dark mode, we'll just invert those two colors. So we'll have foreground and background be inverted. And I'm pretty sure there's a browser specific way of doing that, but I'll have to look that up. Yeah, so now we want to use those variables. So in our A tag here, we're going to say color var highlight. So that should, yeah. So now we've got that nice red from drag 109 as our Ahrefs highlight color. I might just offset that a bit from the bottom of there. It looks kind of weird, jammed up, and I might separate the heights of the lines there. So I'm going to go in my attribution here, spending a lot of time on this attribution, but we'll get to deployment in a second, which is the fun bit, because then it'll be up on our .com and ready to use. Okay, so I'm going to say line height 1.5 EM. That should do that. Yeah, it's a bit better. And I'm just going to move it a bit more off the bottom of the page there, so it's like, yeah, that's a bit better. What's going on? Okay, we want to be able to take an image like this, and basically all we're going to encourage people to do is edit this text, paste images to a robot, and then we want a picture of a robot. So all we need to do is come over here to our image search and grab this guy, copy image, and then the great thing about content editable is, whoops, yeah. So you can do that. You can just paste it straight in. Now, I think, what happens if we paste a giant image? We should probably handle some cases like if someone pastes just a supermassive image, what's going to happen then? So let's take this nice picture of Bluff Knoll, and we're going to copy that, and we're going to paste that one in here and see what it does. Takes a second. I wonder if we can put some kind of a loading spinner in between pasting. I'll add that to the to-do list. Okay, find a better palette. That's done. So paste. Let's see, is that finished pasting? Oh, broken link. Not good. copy image. I wonder why that didn't work. All right, let's see if we can find a different big image. Pictures of forest. Here we've got this nice forest picture here. 612 by 344, so quite big enough. 1200. Okay, copy this one, and we're going to paste that here. There we go. That's better. So this image is gigantic. I think it's actually doing some kind of resizing. Maybe the original 1200, but is my actual div 1200? Okay, that's not. Well, so the basic behavior we want here is that the width or the height never go over kind of like a reasonable limit. So what I'll do is I'll just impose a limit on, see, as you can see, this is kind of like overrun the bottom of the page here. That's probably okay for that one because you've got UI robot there. But let's say you had some other text afterwards. How do I even? And you ran hello. And you have that on an H1 tag. And then you've got this scroll bar here and the whole thing's just not great. So why is the scroll bar there? Is there a limit there? So I think what's happening here is there's a limit to the width of this. So we should make it be able to go, the actual outer container to be able to go full screen. And we want the image to kind of like stay at a reasonable kind of size. But people can, people can figure out, okay, well, that's overrunning the bounds, and they'll go, okay, well, I have to do something else. Yeah. So I'm gonna see what the size of this thing is. Our editor here. Font size, overflow, resize, vertical. I'm gonna actually say width 100%. Okay, that didn't work. So the body tag must have a limit on it. Width 600px. So I'm actually going to change that to, I'm just going to remove that. I'm going to say width 100%. Okay, let's change it in the CSS here. So our body tag has a width of 600px. We don't want to limit that, so we're going to say width 100%. Let's do that for both the body and the HTML tag. So we know we always fill the screen. It hasn't done a live reload yet. Okay. Okay, so that's interesting. We're going to want to change the layout of this so that it's kind of like that. So we'll put a BR tag in there. Wow, why did that do that? It's a bit annoying. So yeah, there's all these little usability issues which we're going to have to address. Don't know why that's giant and bold, but it is. So let's put that in a span with font size 3M. Okay. Is that in the code somewhere? Why is it doing that? Font. No. Maybe because our body itself has a font size of 3M, does it? Yeah, font size 3M. So that's the default. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll change this so that there's a BR tag in there. And that will make the layout, that initial layout a little bit better. And then you can go, whoa. Okay, running into all kinds of issues. Okay, I got lost. Got lost on what I was doing. All right, I'm gonna fix this image issue first. So copy the image, and we're gonna paste it in here. It's huge, super huge. I'm gonna say, see, why is that stopping there now? For whatever reason, editor has limited itself in width. So the body's full, but editor, what if I say width 100%? Okay, yeah, so I have to put 100% width on the editor as well to make it fill the screen completely. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go editor, width 100%. And then, yeah, I should get that 100% width. And I want to make these images. So you don't really want an image to ever fill. Well, I suppose if you're doing a full screen image like that, that's okay. And then they might write something like cool beans. Yeah, that's all right. But there is the case where you have an image that's even bigger than that. So let's explore that. Let's find an image that's super massive. I think there's a way to do this in Google, like basically changing the size to be large. Okay. This looks creepy. What is this? 1356. So maybe this one will be big enough to break our interface. No. Oh, maybe if I just minimize it, make this window smaller. Okay. So someone's got a smaller screen and the image is like way too big. So we want that image to never really exceed the width or height of the monitor they're working on. So I'm going to put a CSS rule in for images, which is going to constrain that. So max width 100%. Maybe I should say VW because that's the viewport that you're looking at. And the same for max height. Should never be more than the viewport height. There we go. So now if you paste in a gigantic image and you've got a bit of a smaller screen, it will never overrun it. So you can still go hello world and make your cast. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good solution. Good enough anyway. Right, yes. Okay, so I'm going to commit those changes. Okay, I did. Usually you should just do one thing per commit, really. But I'm just going to do two things here, commit, and I'm going to commit all git commit -a-m, which is commit all the changes with the message added palette, and what else did I do? Restrict image size. Okay, cool. And I'll push that up. Right, let's go back to our to-do list. I think, you know, that's good enough for pranking to begin with. Dark mode would be really good. So test images, we've done that. We added an attribution. Actually, I'll just quickly add the source code link to that as well. A href equals github.com source code. So it's called castpranker.com. Yeah. Well, that's quite a lot of stuff now, isn't it? Also, I've noticed that every time I click one of these things, it takes me to this little hash fragment. And that's because the ahref of each one of these is hash, because it's just running code instead. So I also want to stop it from doing that. So I need a prevent default in there. So anytime you click any of these, it should prevent default. So I'm going to go back to the code. And I'm going to say, wait, let me commit the attribution first. So let's commit that. Update attribution with source link. And then back in the main.js, I'm going to say anytime you click on the toolbar, let's do e.prevent default. And what that'll do is just stop it from visiting the href that is the attribute of that a tag. And so it'll stay, it won't go to those It's all these little things that are quite important. Now when I click one, if I click that down, so you don't get the hash tag there, hash fragment anymore. So that's good. Yeah, that's weird how it does that. Got to sort out that bug. Yep. Gigantic text bug, I'll call that. So fix gigantic text bug. Do you know what? I'm going to deploy now. I'm going to get to the deployment early. It's now 10:30, so we're going for an hour and a half, and we need to have this thing live by 3 p.m. So it's always good, whether you're building a video game or a website or whatever, to have a walking skeleton of the whole thing end to end, including like the deployment. Because what that means is when you come in later to make updates and changes, if you have the deployment working and you have like everything running and you make a change, then it's totally fine because you know that part of it's working. So you can just make the quick change, deploy it, it's live again. Whereas if you leave the deployment and stuff like that until the very end, so that's also why I'll set up the launch page soon. Because if you leave the deployment right to the very end of the project and then you need to update something, then you're going to run out of time. So I do the same thing when I'm making games. Like I get the final binary build working, like before I've actually written most of the code. So I know that I can get it. If I have to tweak something, I have to do a bug fix, I can get it running well ahead of time before the deadline. I'll have the binaries for Windows, Android, etc. running. So we'll do the same thing here. I think this is good enough as a basic tool. You can paste images, you can write text. So I'm going to deploy this up to castpranker.com. And then I'm going to take a little break. So if we go back to Gandhi, so we've got this domain, it's pointing at the right place. My box doesn't know anything about it. All right, actually before I do deployment, I'm going to go and take a small break, get a glass of water, and I will be back in 2 minutes. Let me just pull up a page that you can just put on some music. There we go. And I'll put this thing up. And I'm going to be back in a minute. Hello. All right, that's enough music. Yes, so just to recap where we're up to, we are live coding this app to prank my family. Basically, it's a web app that uses Chromecast, that you can use Chromecast to prank your family. And it's a very simple web app that just uses it has a content editable HTML tag, and it allows you to very quickly build some words and some graphics, an image, and then cast that to the TV to prank your family. And I'll just revisit our schedule quickly. So we've got register a domain name, we've done that. Research and prototyping, we've done that. And we're now building the site, doing some design stuff. Publish on GitHub, we've done that. Deployment, I think I'll probably do that, as I was saying before, early in the game, so that we know that it works and we can get that out of the way well ahead of time, because the last thing you want is to be deploying your site sort of at the last minute as the deadline approaches. And we have many hours before midnight San Francisco time, but I think I'll get the deployment out of the way now, and then I'll come back and fix some of these bugs and sort of get as many usability issues and UI type of things happening as I can before the launch for the rest of the day. So let's get on with the deployment. So we've got our domain name, castpranker.com. We've got our basic working thing here. Hang on, where are we? Okay, yeah, so we've got our basic working app here. We've got a domain name, castpranker.com, and we want to get that up online. So I use this thing called Piku, which, as I was saying, I have a bunch of sites. I have 30 websites or so running on a Digitalocean VPS, so a Linux VPS. It's a standard kind of Ubuntu box. And I use Piku to deploy to that. So just take a quick look at my Digitalocean dashboard. So how do I sign in here? Sign in. I'll show you my VPS, and basically if you want to set up Piku yourself, it actually only takes a couple of minutes. All you do is create a VPS as you would in whatever system you use. So I've got these different droplets here. Here's my Piku machine, but I can go like create a new droplet, and then you get the IP address, and then you deploy Piku to it. Now let's have a look at the Piku site itself, which is at github.com/Piku, Piku, and it's this little one here. So it says the tiniest platform as a service you've ever seen. Piku allows you to do Git push deployments to your own servers. And so that's why I use it. It's pretty much a foolproof way of being able to push up a node or a project or a static site or a Python project, and with just sort of like a couple of commands. All you have to do is add the Git remote for your Piku server, push it, and then it becomes live. It does all the stuff like SSL certificate and stuff like that. So it's kind of like having your own miniature stripped down version of Heroku or Netlify or one of those type of things, but running on your own VPS. Of course, it is a hobby project. As you can see here, I'm a contributor to the project myself, so I'm quite biased towards it. And for many people, using Heroku or Vercel or whatever is going to be a better option. What I like about this though is the cheapness. So I can run a bunch of different sites. If I was launching a Heroku, if I was using Heroku to launch every single one of my crazy side project websites, that would cost a lot of money. But this only costs me $10 a month, and I can launch heaps of them. So that's why I like it. So to set Piku up, you go to this install here, and you run this on your local, and then you run Piku Bootstrap against your own server, and then it deploys it for you. But I've already done all that, so I have my own Piku box already, which is piku.cloud. Wait, what is it? Piku. is it piku.mccormickit.com, I think. Yeah, so there's nothing there, of course, but all of my sites run on this box. So what I do is set up a Git remote with this machine as the destination to where you're doing the Git push, and then I set a couple of environment variables in an environment variable file, and this is all documented at the Piku site itself. So you've got a proc file and an env file. So the env file just holds environment variables, and the proc file holds the instructions for how to actually deploy the thing. So like if you're using Python, you might have a WSGI app, a worker here, but we're just doing a static site, so it's going to be very simple. So I'm going to create those two files, env file, proc file, and then I'm going to do a Git push to my own server, and that's what will get this site live. So let's do that. Right, so in my, okay, wait, I've got uncommitted changes. What did I do? Okay, I'm going to commit that change I did with the prevent default. So prevent toolbar hash frag default, and updated to-do list. I'm going to push that all up. Now, yeah, as I said, we're going to create two files, the env file and the proc file. So I'm going to edit the env file here. And usually what I do is actually just look at one of my other static projects and copy the values over. So I don't really have to remember it. And I've got this site, pocketoperations.com, which is a static site. And it's got these variables here. So I'll talk through each of these. Nginx server name tells Piku that that's the domain name we want to use. So I'm going to change that to castpranker.com. HTTPS only means we want it to redirect HTTP requests to the HTTPS version of the site. Auto restart means when we push up our code, we want it to restart the server. If you leave that off, you have to manually tell Piku to reload, so I always have that on basically. Node version, I don't actually need this because it's just a static site, so I'm going to delete that. Nginx include files. This allows you to include a small fragment of an Nginx config into your config for this particular app. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to create that conf file myself because by default, Piku sends the Nginx logs to a particular location outside of the application. But I actually want those log files inside the application, so later when I do analytics, I can analyze them. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to delete that line, and we'll keep it simple, and just go with these three environment variables. So the Nginx server name, the HTTPS only, and the auto restart. And then the proc file. So let's have a look at the proc file for my other project. Yep, it's basically the same, except I don't even have this release step. So proc file basically just has a set of steps that get executed for different things. So the steps can be things like, as we saw in the documentation here, you can have WSGI if you're running a Python WSGI server. You can have a background worker, and actually any step with a name that isn't one of these like well-known names will become a background worker. So you can call it like clock or whatever. Yeah, so worker processes which are standalone workers which are going to have arbitrary names. So here fetcher is another one. So it's just running this fetcher in the background. You can also do basic simple cron expressions. Yeah, so the only one I actually want is this static. That static site server, which is going to be just some workers which mount, the first argument is a static path, and I just want to mount the whole folder, just like I did with Pocket Operations here. So I'm actually going to create this proc file, and it'll just have the one entry, which is a static directive saying serve the whole folder as a static website. So simple as that. So I've got an M file with these 3 lines telling it the server name, HTTPS redirect and restart. And I've got a proc file telling it just to statically serve this app. So now I'm going to add those two files. Env proc file. And I'm going to commit them with the message pq deployment files. And now I can add the git remote, push, and castpranker.com will be live. So my git remote is going to be something like, I'm going to look through my bash history to find one I've used before. So remote pq, hang on. So git remote add pq, there we go. Okay, so the way this git remote works with pq is you're saying add a remote called pq, because then the script will recognize that and it has some intelligence around like running remote commands and stuff. So you can run commands on your pq box by using the pq command, which I'll get to later. And then this bit's always the same for me, which is pq at my box hostname. And then this last bit is the tag for this app. So as I said, I've got like 30 sites running on there. Each one has to have a unique tag. So I'll just call this cast pranker. So yeah, I've added my remote. Now if I push it, I should get it deployed live on the internet. So I'm going to say git push pq. Hang on. I think I have to push to master, not main. Well, we'll see. It's installing some npm deps. I don't actually need that, but it does that by default when it finds a package.json. It looks like it's pulled the right stuff out. So you can see now it's creating the domain name. So it's going to Let's Encrypt and it's asked for this domain name. So it does all of that automatically and gets a SSL certificate for castpranker.com. And installing the key, serving the static files. So now if we visit castpranker.com, and you can do this on your own, you can do this yourself. We see, there it is, live. Yay! So, cool. Now, I need to add to the to-do list something, which is, I need to add this. I've got no fav icon. So that's part of the design phase. But I'll put it in there just so I don't forget later. Fav icon. And I'm going to want to get screenshots of this working. Deploy, we've done that. So I think there's a way to tag stuff. So add stream marker. Stream marker added. Okay. Yeah, because we just did the deployment. So I'll have to probably edit those later. Anyway, okay, so we've got our site live. So we've done register domain name, research and prototype. We've built the site. We published on GitHub and we did deploy. So really the only thing we have left to do is some design stuff, some tweaks, fixing bugs, and launching your product hunt. Do you know what? In the interests of getting things ready early, I'm actually going to go on product hunt now and get this set up so that we have a placeholder that I can just add stuff into in time for the launch. So I'm going to load up, I've got a single-use browser here that I use for browsing Product Hunt. So it's just producthunt.com. I'm already signed in. And I'm just going to say, how do I create a new one? Post. Castpranker.com. Castpranker. Prank your family using Chromecast. What is this? Certainly not productivity. Yeah, none of those tags fit. It's kind of like pranking. Entertainment. Nope. No tags. All good. So I'll need to get these images, thumbnails, etc. in here once I've got them ready. Okay, it's not going to let me proceed without some images. So what I'll do is I'll just take a screenshot of what we have so far, which is actually kind of boring. So I need a funny image. Maybe I'll just take a photo. Okay, let's look for a Creative Commons image of, how about Unsplash? Do they have any? Let's see if we can find a picture on Unsplash of prank. Cool. Pranking. Some weird photos, but this one looks good. Looks fine for now. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to use Cast Pranker itself. Whoops. Copy image to paste in here. Okay, we're already running into this issue of the image being too large. Prank your family with Chromecast. Now, what I really should do is get for this, because you want the product hunt image to be compelling. So what I really should do is get a photo of my family actually being pranked, which I will do in a bit. I'll do some tests, set something up when they're watching TV. They're out right now, but if I can capture like a video of the first prank, that'd be good. So I'm just gonna screenshot this now. Do you know what? Maybe I should make the font like Comic Sans or something terrible. Yeah. Anyway, let's do a screenshot of this. Good enough. And then let's add that as our URL. As our thumbnail. And now that's allowing us to proceed. So we'll get some videos up and some images and stuff. And I'll write a description here. So it's easy to prank your household using Chromecast, and this web app makes it even easier. Set myself as a maker and schedule launch. I built this app of pranking my family by Chromecasting content while they are watching stuff. Hope you enjoy it. So schedule the launch for, today is the 16th. It's the 16th in San Francisco, but what we actually want is the 17th at midnight. Wait, schedule launch. 17th at midnight. So I'm going to do it 1 minute past midnight Pacific time. So the April 17th, hang on, I always get this stuff wrong. So right now in the US, right now in the US it's the 15th, not the 16th. So it's Thursday. Hang on, let me just verify all this. So current time San Francisco. Yeah, so it's 15th, 7:52 p.m. and I want it to launch on the 16th at midnight Pacific time. Cool. Yes, schedule. So that should launch on April 16th at 12:01 Pacific time. Cool. All right, so that's our cast pranker is ready. So we'll have to add some images and stuff and make this a bit more compelling than it currently is. But yeah, we've got the basic thing. So we've got our website deployed over here at castpranker.com. We've got our product hunt launch ready to go. And now all we really need is to add some more features and stuff like that. Yeah, and fix some of those bugs. So, cool. All right. I better get the attribution here. Info. How do I get the attribution? Download free. I think this will give me the attribution. Yeah. Okay. So copy that, and we want to do. We'll paste that into the code. Wow, our attribution line here is getting a bit crazy. Maybe I need to put this in like a separate kind of thing. Okay, I'll just run all these together so it doesn't take up quite so much room. Now if I go back to my, so based on a code pen, palette by, photo by on Unsplash, and source code down the bottom. I think I'll actually put source code first. Cool. I'll put it on the same line. Just compress that up a bit. There we go. Capitalize. Cool. All right. So we've got our registered domain name, research and prototype. We're building the site. Got some design stuff still to do. It's published on GitHub, we've done the deploy, and we've got the product hunt launch ready. So all that's really left is filling out the functionality a little bit and fixing some bugs. Okay. Dark mode, fav icon, screenshots, testing. Well, trying a prank. So at some point I've got to actually use the thing to do a prank on my family. I think I'll have to stop the feed when I do that, and I'll stick the final result up on as a video on the product hunt. So, I mean, I'm way ahead of schedule now. It's 11 o'clock. Maybe this, well, anyway, I'll get on with these. I'll go through to lunchtime, getting this stuff on, and then I'll put up a message for anyone who lands on this about the launch at 3 p.m. Okay. Right, let's fix this bug. So when we delete that, oh, it's not doing it now. Okay. Well, that's good. The bug has magically fixed itself. So we can go copy image, that's working, pasting images. I mean, it would be kind of nice if when you select that image, it's, can you, yeah, you can select it. All right, that's all right. Yeah, so I think I'll make the image, when you on-click it, it selects it. Yeah, I'll add that to the to-do list. So the main things we've got to build here are on-click image selector, add a dark mode, get a fav icon and screenshots. Those are really other things. So our main features are, what do we think about this font? Is this font good enough? All right. So let's close some of these tabs. Don't need that guy anymore. Don't need that. All right. So that bug fixed itself. Yeah, so some other things I was going to do was fix the palette. So I want a better, I've got the site palette, but these colors here, when you choose these, they're a bit jank. I mean, they're not too bad. No, I'll leave them for now. Because, you know, you pretty much, you got red, you got green here. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay. So what's the other things I want to do? I guess I'm going to have to research dark mode, and on clicking an image, select it. So I think we can do this with jQuery. So we can go, what we want to do is add a live binding. So how do we do this? I don't remember my jQuery that well, so I'm going to have to research this. So jQuery live bind. Okay, deprecated, cool. Removed in 1.9. Attach an event handler for now and in the future. Right, cool. Please use on. Okay, what version of jQuery are we using? Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is simply get it so that if someone's editing, you know, it's a usability thing. Like, if you're editing and you've pasted some image in here, so you've got this image and you've pasted it in here, it's kind of a bit janky at the moment to be able to remove that image or to like, yeah, do something else. So you actually have to like click in exactly the right spot here and then highlight. But I think a better UI would be like, if you can actually just click on the image, also change the cursor to show like a select cursor. Yeah, that'd be better. So that you can just go like select, so click to select and then delete to delete it. That would be optimal. So the way I'm going to do that is I want to bind to all images. Well, first of all, let's change the cursor when you hover over an image so that it's something else. So image, any image that you hover should be like cursor pointer. So that way, yeah, there we go. So that looks a bit better. So now the user knows that they can click on it. And okay, so we've got a cursor pointer, and now we want to bind the actual event. So yeah, so what I was doing was checking what the version of jQuery is. So we've got jQuery 2.1.3. Great. So the documentation is saying that that old live thing is deprecated now, and to use on instead. Direct versus delegate event selected data handler. Okay, looks like we can just do on document.on click a.offset. Okay, yeah, so we bind it to the document. We're saying on click this selector. Right, yep. So we want to bind to these two images within the editor. So if you click them, it selects them. So we're going to use the selection. Actually, jQuery probably has a selector built in. So if I look up select, selection API, jQuery selection API. It's not quite what I wanted. Oh, here we go. No. So range API, I think it's called. So fragmented docker selection. You know, I think I can just do .select. If I do image.select, does that work? Okay, let's pull up a little thing here and go, let's just bang some code in here. So image, wait, editor, image, select. No, that didn't work. Well, selection. So I'm trying to use the selection API to actually selection object range of text. Window got get selection. A range that we added to the selection. Modify. Set position. toString. I'm sure I remember just on the DOM element saying .select. Is that a thing? I'm sure that's a thing. All right. Let's try it. So instead of that, we're going to get the DOM element and run select. No. So temp1. There's no selection. Focus. All right, let's defer to the experts. Stack Overflow time. So JavaScript, select image element. Select an image element inside a div. Because what's confusing here is, you know, there's like jQuery style or CSS style selectors, but we're actually talking about the user clicking on something and selecting it. So I'm trying to figure out, do an element without an ID. Okay, no, this is just jQuery style selection he's looking for. So JavaScript select element. No, that's looking for the wrong type of thing. HTML select element. No. JavaScript. What's that called? Like select text range. HTML input element, set selection range, get selection, highlight a text range, selection and range. Okay. So range.set start, set end. Start value, end value. Yes, you got this range thing. Select node. Yeah, cool, okay. So this is what we want. We want to create a range and select node. All right, so let's do this. So what we want is anytime they click on an image, so anytime they click on an image, we want to create a new range that's just the image and make sure that's selected. So we're going to go here to okay, so we're going to use this jQuery here when there's a click on the document if it's on an image inside the editor. So okay, so document.onClick, we want hash editor, so it's inside the editor and it's an image, then do this. We're going to say alert image. All right, let's test that. So go back to our cast pranker. No. Getting lost in all my windows. All right, so copy this. When we click on it, we get the alert image. Perfect. Now that we run code whenever we click an image, we want to rather select that. So we're going to go create a new range. And then we're going to say, so how do we make the range? Range dot. Select node. And we're going to just say ev.target. So we want to select whatever was clicked. So the event target will be set to the image that was clicked. And then how do we actually make it do the selection on that range? Do you just create the range? Maybe that works. Let's save it and see. Any range object, okay. Let's grab this image, paste it in. No, that doesn't work. Again, oh, because it's on my own machine. Grab this image, paste it in. Doesn't do anything. So how do we get this? How do we set the page to select this range? That's my question. So document.selection.add range. Beautiful. Document.getSelection. Remove all ranges, add range. Cool. Okay. Whoops. So, yep, should be that simple, I think. In fact, we can set this to be const so that it knows to get rid of that memory when it's done. Okay, let's copy this image. Yes. Worked. All right, so just a bit of a usability thing. If someone's pasted an image, they don't want to use it like that. They want to get rid of it. They can just click it, delete. Beautiful. Copy image, paste it, click it, delete. Nice. All right, let's commit this code because that is working fairly well. So I'm going to commit my, I didn't actually change that at all, so I'm going to commit the main.js. It's also ability to select an image by clicking. All right, so that's another one out of the way. On-click image selects it. So the last thing really is this dark mode feature. Fav icon screenshots. Now, maybe I'll do the fav icon quickly. When I'm building stuff, I like to, there's one hack I use for icons is like basically getting a font awesome icon and then modifying it. So if we go to font awesome, what should be pranks? What are pranks? What kind of an icon is a prank? Let's look up prank icon. Okay, got some cool stuff. Okay, what about a TV with like one of these little like alarm alert signs? I think that would be pretty good. So let's look up font awesome TV. Great, great. Television icon. And then, so yeah, we'll take this TV and tv.svg. So I've actually got font awesome icons on my local. So I'm going to go Inkscape, dev, right. So I'm going to go dev font awesome SVG PNG, which is the name of the thing. I'm going to load the black icon, SVG, tv.svg. So I'll load this up in Inkscape. Inkscape is this vector editor that's good for doing this kind of thing. Okay, now I want to be able to put some like alert marks above it. Hope it looks alright on smaller monitors. Maybe I'll get a different TV icon that's a bit, because that'll be, the font awesome icons are all like pixel aligned. So if I shrink this down so that I can fit in the alert sign, it's going to probably not look as good. So what I'll do is I'll try and find an icon that's a bit better than that. So TV icon. Old television. That's kind of cool. Is it too detailed though? I can make this myself. I'm going to make it myself. But then, will young people... I mean, this is aimed at... Yeah, they'll know what that is, right? Okay, let's just make this from scratch. So we're going to go back to Inkscape. We're going to go new. And we're going to make this... It's a fav icon. We'll make it like 512 by 512. So document properties, pixels, 512 by 512. And we want to put the border on top. Don't show the shadow. So now we've got our nice little icon here. And all we're going to do is make a TV. So this guy can be, let's make it a good, bright, welcoming color. Wait, what's our highlight color on our website? So we'll go back to our CSS here and we'll grab out this guy, this nice highlight color. Stroke paint, fill and stroke. Fill this in here. Yep. Hang on. No, it's not a stroke. So the stroke is the outline. We want to fill in the fill with our color. Yeah, beautiful. And let's round these corners up because you should always, always have rounded corners. There we go. That's what good design is. Rounded corners. Ask any designer. They will tell you this. Let's view the grid. Snap to grid, come on. Where's my snap? Ugh. Okay. Should be updating my... Why? When scaling rectangles, scale the radii of the rounded corners. Why are you not doing that? Nope. Anyway, let's just modify it like this. So, yep, you can snap there, you can snap there. And now we want a white rectangle inside that. And we'll fill it to here. Is that 8? There's 8. And we'll make that white. Actually, let's move this guy up to here. So we've got a nice 4. We need to put, I'm trying to like basically align this on something that may be vaguely pixel aligned so that everything will be hopefully fairly clean. So we've got 4, 4, 4, 4. I don't know what this grid is. What's this grid? All right, grids. Major grid line every 5. Major grid line every 8. 16. This is good. These radii. Why do you change? Why are they changing? Right, snap to there. This guy can snap to 2. 2 is good. All right. Align that to 416 and 178. Yeah, I mean, that's a TV, right? And now we just need these like prank lines, like, ugh! Oh wait, I'll put them in the middle of the TV on the screen with a head. Yes, this is going to be awesome. All right. I'm going to put a head here. I'm going to put a half a head here. Make it double wide. And do that like that. It's a super complicated icon. Oh, the head's sideways. What's going on? Hey, wait, that's funny. And then we'll do like these lines out here. What is going on with my TV? Help! My TV says something weird. Dad, why? Why do you do this? Why must you mess with my television? Yeah. Okay, 3. 4's too many. And also, this is going to give people OCD. Wait. Come on, snap. Is this good enough? I think this is good. Oh, that's kind of weird, isn't it? What's going on there? No, it's all wrong. What's with this? Let's make the TV bigger. Why would we not just fill the whole area? Beautiful. Okay. What's going on here? Does this make sense? Does this look like pranking? Does that mean prank cast? Is that what it means? Cast pranker? I'm not sure about this icon. Anyway, good enough for now. I really do like these, like, when I was on a thing before, there was a thing with the, I think I did prank. I think I did like, when I searched for prank, here we go, prank icon. Like, I like these little, like, exclamation things. Yeah. I need those. Look at this guy, these guys. Getting pranked. Okay, so I'm gonna copy this image and paste it in here. I'm gonna go trace bitmap, 2 colors, so I can get this into a vector basically. Okay, now I have my vector. I can delete that one, and I just want this bit. Delete that. Delete this guy. Delete this guy. Make it that color. Why? Why are you so big? Wait, okay, there's a background in there. No. Ungroup. See, when you scan something in, when you trace a bitmap, it's all grouped together. So we just want this. Okay, got that guy. Yeah, that's way better. Not these lines. Get rid of them. And I'm gonna do just like a crazy mouth. Wait, okay. Turn off stroke paint, put fill. Yeah, this mouth. It's gonna be like, whoa. It's gonna be the exact face my kids pull when I do this. Dad, what? Yeah. Cool. All right, that's an icon. And we'll also use this for, okay, cast pranker. Logo, save. Export as PNG image. Logo.png. And we're going to make it the real actual size, 512. Export. Now we can import this as our fab icon, which is what we'll do. You know what, maybe I should make these lines a bit thicker. Well, let's have a look. Let's see how it looks. So we'll go back to our index.html and we want a fav icon. So the way we do that is, I think it's like link rel equals icon. Source, is it? Icon.png. Save that one. And reload this fella. Come on, where's my icon? Okay, link rel icon. What's the syntax? Let's get the correct syntax for this. Link rel icon href. Yeah, href. So change that to href. Why? Why no icon? Okay. You know what else I should do as a usability thing is have links here to image search, because yeah, you want to make it as quick as possible so they can just go like, oh yeah, I'll actually have a little box where you can type an image, and when you click go, it opens a new window, and then they can copy and paste. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to say, in my to-do list here, I'm going to say image search box. Cool. All right. So, why isn't my icon working? Oh, because it's called logo, not icon. Yes. Wow, that's tiny. Okay, for the icon, I'm just going to make it a TV with the kind of weird lines in it. But I think that's pretty good as like your product hunt image. So I'll go back to product hunt and I'll add that as like the, yeah, okay. So this image here. Let's edit this. How do I edit? Edit. There we go. Just going to pause the stream for a moment. Alrighty, so I'm going to upload a different image here. So it's for the thumbnail. And I'm going to use Cast Pranker logo. Yes, good. Excellent. And I can upload an image here, which will be screenshot. Prank your household using Chromecast. That's a better. I'll put my own Twitter there. Okay, so now we've got this like placeholder image, but we also need a fav icon. So the fav icon is just going to be a more resolvable TV. So what I'm going to do is say save as and call this icon. And now I just have to like increase the feature size of this. So make these features bigger. So like I'll use the path outset to make this thicker. And then I want this one to be a bit smaller. So the lines of the TV are, because if we look at this fav icon here, where are you? Yeah, it's pretty blurry. I mean, those buttons need to be bigger for a start. So they're actually resolvable. And then that thing has to be a bit bigger. Yep. So I'll make these buttons a bit bigger now. And move them over. So that's more recognizable, hopefully, in the fav icon as a TV. And this. So if I go save that and then export PNG image as icon, page 512 export. So now, hopefully that's reloaded. Okay, I need to actually icon.png, because it's still loading logo. So I'll load, I've got to update the reference here to be icon. Okay, that bang thing still isn't, I need to make it smaller. It's very hard working with like 16 by 16 pixels. You can't put much detail in there, but that's cool. That's the limitation, so be it. Export, go on, page, export, replace. Yep, that's a bit better. No, it needs to be Look, it's fine for now. It's fine. It's unique enough. And I might actually put the logo in the middle of here when you load up Cast Pranker, so that it's, you know, a bit of brand. So I'll go Cast Pranker logo.png. There we go. That's a bit big, isn't it? Yep, I'll just shrink that logo down. Anyway, so we've done, I'll remove that for now. So where are we at? We've got to, let's add those to the icon and the logo to our Git repository. So Git Add Icon * logo * commit fav icon and logo. And we also want to, in the source code here, update so we've done our fav icon, we've got a screenshot, it's probably good enough. So the last thing is this image search box, and then I'll do dark mode. So I'm going to have a quick break. It's 11:30, and I'm going to add the image search box and dark mode, and then I'm going to take a longer break to try and capture a prank live on my phone, so that I have more images and stuff for the product hunt launch. Yep. All right, I'll be back in a moment. I'm going to put on these. What about these dudes? That's probably too annoying. I'll put the music back on. Back soon. alone. Right, that's enough music. Alright, so I'm going to add this image search box and dark mode, and then I think we've got a pretty complete app, and it'll be ready for the product launch. So dark mode, I know there's a thing built into browser APIs now for doing dark mode. So I'm going to look that up. Righto. Dark mode. Dark mode CSS files. Create a light dark mode switch with CSS variables. And Anya has written something great here. Giving user, well, let's begin. Okay. Let's got an example here. So we've got our primary colors, data, theme, dark, cool. Okay, so we'll do the same thing. All we're going to do is invert our our background and our foreground colors. So basically you can see in her example here, she's setting up a CSS with the inverted colors. So let's go back to our code. And what we're going to do is the same thing, except we don't need all these colors. All we need is to reverse the BG and the FG. So we're going to say FG, BG. Let's save that. So we've already referenced all our variables, so we don't need to modify that. And now we're going to add the toggle switch. Theme switch wrapper, theme switch checkbox. She's got some styling. Adding the JavaScript. Okay, just setting the data attribute. So we will add a toggle like this. Okay. Theme switch. All right, so we'll put it up here in our toolbar. We'll put it at the end of our toolbar over on the right-hand side, but I may actually float it to the right. You know what? I'll just put it in its own thing. Theme switch wrapper, just like what she's done in her example. And I'm going to give that a class of UI. I'm going to make that the ID. ID equals theme switch wrapper. Checkbox, slide around. Dark mode. Now there's probably a good font awesome icon for this as well. So, okay, cool. So we've got a little toggle, enable dark mode, and we want when that gets clicked to run the code that she's got. So in here, we're going to add another piece of code, which is going to be when you switch. Just had a question from Richie. He's asking about the icon design. So no, the program I use to design the icon is GIMP is a pixel editing program, but I use Inkscape, which is a vector editing program. So yeah, Inkscape logo.svg. So Inkscape works with SVGs, which are scalable vector graphics. And I always like to start with vectors because of the scalable property. You know, you can like take this thing and it works when it's small, it works when it's large, because these, rather than being pixels, they're vectors. So yeah, I like to build stuff using vector graphics and then export it to PNGs. And Inkscape is a great program for doing that. It's open source software, just like all the other stuff that I'm using here. What else can I say about that? That's pretty much it. Yep. I'll just write it here. Okay. So back to the dark mode. All right. So dark mode. Okay. So we'll look at her example again. I'm not going to use her themes because I've probably just figured that out myself. but her code here obviously looks good. All it's doing is finding the theme switch. When it's clicked, it sets the attribute of the document data theme to dark, and that will trigger the CSS, the alternative CSS to be loaded. So we're going to stick that in our main.js. We could probably do this with jQuery, but I mean, she's using a raw add event listener, and you know, we're just going to copy that code directly because it works fine, I assume. Right, so now when we hit dark mode, nothing happens. Okay, so let's do a bit of debugging here. Console.log, clicked. And we want our dev tools. So we've got script loaded, click that, clicked. Okay, so it's getting clicked, but it's not enabling the style, the CSS style. So it's probably something, you know, I haven't read her whole thing here. Store the user preference for future visits. That's a good idea. Set our data theme attribute. Okay. Dark mode. Yeah, okay. So why isn't it working? So it's getting clicked. E.target checked. I'll just have this print out checked. And what do our dev tools say? Yep, it's checked. That's unchecked, checked again. So it's definitely running, but it's the setting of theme that's not working. So what have we got here? Document element, set attribute data theme dark. Maybe I didn't save the style. We've got data theme dark. Is that just how it works? Oh, I haven't even set that. I haven't used these variables. That's the problem. Okay, so align. So my body element, my body tag has to have background color var bg. And I'm just going to make the color of everything else var fg. Now we should see the updating. Yes. Enable dark mode. Bang, bang, bang. Now, this stuff here, that's a bit too subtle. I'll probably just make it a color that works for both. So I'll make it lighter in light mode and darker in dark mode. Well, the opposite of that. So let's go down to our attribution here. So our color is that. Our color is in the middle, so let's just make it 888. That's probably reasonably safe. So in dark mode it's light, and in light mode it's darkish. Cool. Yep, that's good. Okay, so the last thing we have to do is this looks terrible. We need to move it kind of like up into the corner here. And I'll use a font awesome icon for making it look good. So let's see, like font awesome light dark light switch icon. Doesn't really convey it, does it? I think I'm using an older version of Font Awesome. So Font Awesome 4.7 moon. Moon icon. Font moon O. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Moon and sun, but no, I'll just do FA moon. Okay. So the way I'm going to do this is the same as these guys here. So I want to jam that in the label, I think. and no, FA moon. What's it called? FA moon O, moon outline. Why is there two? Okay, I thought, clicking on the label should update the checkbox itself. But maybe this isn't. There we go, yep. So that works. Okay, that moon there. We need to change this to an on change event. So, oh, it is an on change. I think we'll use jQuery to do this instead. Okay, I'm going to delete the text. And we're just going to put an alt tag on that. I don't understand why there's two FA moons. Is it because I haven't closed this tag? Yes. All right. So that's that. Now we've got one moon, and it toggles the button, but it's no longer having an effect. So we want to say, let's go $ theme switch wrapper. So hash theme. So we want to reference the theme switch wrapper, and we want the I thing in there. Click switch theme. EV. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, you know, if that little moon icon is clicked, I'm going to make the moon icon bigger as well. So we want to go theme switch wrapper I, font size 3em, just to make it gigantic. There we go. Big. Good. So if theme switch wrapper is clicked, update theme state. Toggle theme state. And then we're going to have a global variable, which is like, so I'm actually just going to comment out all her code. I'm going to have a global variable, which is like theme state equals false. Wait, dark. Dark equals false. Cool, we're going to write some actual code. So dark equals false to start with. And then we've got this function called toggle themes state. In fact, let's not even worry about that. Let's just go dark equals not dark. And then update theme state. And update theme state is going to go we want to get the checkbox itself, which is called, which is theme switch wrapper. So it's theme switch wrapper input. Let's just alert that for now. So when we click this, it should tell us, oh, what's going on. Theme switch wrapper I.click. Theme switch wrapper I.click. Update theme state. Forgot to call it a function. Nope. Still no dice. Update theme state. alert clicked. Is our thing bound? Is it even bound? Yes. Right. So it's clicking, but then it's not running update theme state. Why? Let's check the console. Checked is not a function. Okay. So jQuery, how do you tell in jQuery if a thing is checked? jQuery checkbox checked. Hang on. Prop checked. The checked property is, how about this one? That code pen that I was borrowing. Hang on. Did the stream just drop off for a sec? Yeah. All right. Hopefully we're back. I just restarted the stream to see if I could get it to work a bit better. Anyway, all right. So we're doing a dark. Toggle. False. Toggle. True. Okay, it's inverted because the reason it's inverted is because the click event happens before the changed event happens. So what we want to do is, well, let's just do not. So var const dark equals not that, because they're only going to update it by clicking this. And then what we want to do is go the data theme. So we want, if it's checked dark, then do dark. Otherwise do light. So now we should have our thing back. Yep. Okay, that's our thing. Now another nice little thing here would be if we update this so it becomes a sun in dark mode and a moon in light mode. Yep. So I'm going to change that FA icon there. We're going to go dot attribute. What's the attribute called? Class equals and we're going to do FA plus, and we want to do like dark in dark mode we'll have it be moon O, and sun O, and in light mode we'll have moon O. So this will be sun. See if that works. Okay, click that. Doesn't change. Okay, so what's going on there? Inspect FA moon O. It didn't update. Why? Console. Class is not a function. Okay. How do you... Oh, it's CSS. That's the function name in jQuery. I haven't done jQuery for quite a long time. CSS. Right. No. That's wrong. Let's just do attribute class. Is there a sun icon? Maybe the sun icon doesn't exist. FA sun O. Yes, okay. That's what we want. Sun O. Save. Moon. No sun. Moon. No sun. Why? Why no sun? Sun O. Oh, FA. Didn't have the right prefix in there. All right. So it's loading again. Okay. So now moon, click it, sun. Moon, sun. Moon, sun. We have a dark mode clicker. The last thing I want to do is hide this, the actual toggle. because why have it there? So theme, switch, wrapper, input, display, none. Bang, bang, bang. And then I'll move that into the top right. Theme, switch, wrapper, position fixed, top 0.5 EM, right 0.25 EM. Where's it gone? Oh. I think my internet might be slowing down. Sorry if that's breaking up the thing. There we go. It's a bit too far in the corner. Okay, so I'm just going to move it in a little bit. See if that makes a difference. Font Awesome is taking a long time to load every time. I think my internet must be a bit slow. All right, that's dark mode done. Cool, I'm happy with that. And you could still obviously like set the color or whatever. Some of these colors look better in dark mode. Some of them look not as good. Yep. Cool. All right, so now I can commit this change, which is what I'll do now. Git status, git diff. I'm just going to check that off in my to-do list. So add a dark mode. Actually, there was one other thing we should add to dark mode, which is she, in her example, she had saving the user's preference, just storing it in local storage, which is cool. It's that's what you want. When you come back, it's in the mode you left it in. So let's copy what she does. Local storage.set item theme dark and local storage.set item theme light. So we'll put that into here. We'll go like local storage.set item theme dark. Let's call it dark theme because it's just going to be a no. Stick with what she does. So dark or light. And then at load time, local storage.get item theme. Get item theme equals dark. I want that to be a 1. True, or else a false. So now, in between reloads, it should retain our dark mode. Yeah. So we'll try that. Okay. So now it's in. We'll put it in dark mode, and then we'll refresh the page. That didn't work. Local storage set item theme dark. Okay. Hang on, let's check the console. Maybe there's some errors. Okay. Local storage set item theme dark. I'm just going to console log this and see what difference that makes. So it's loading as light mode. So light. We set it to dark mode. Reload. Dark. But it's not updating this. Oh, because we need a call we need to call update theme state one time to set the initial state. Cool. So now when we reload, it stays in dark mode, or if not, it stays in light mode. Hang on. Okay, that's light mode now. Should have stored that. Light mode. Why is it going dark? Oh, because it's checking that. It's doing is checked rather than swapping it. Okay, let's swap it instead. In there. Yep. All right. So we're in dark mode, we reload. We're in light mode, we reload. Great. Dark mode, reload. Light mode, reload. Yep. Great. So the last thing I'll do is just test what happens when we remove that local storage setting. So local storage theme delete. So now it's set to, yep. So now it's unset. If it's unset, we should get the normal, yeah, null mode. Okay, good. Yep. And then when we toggle it to dark, we reload. Yep. Cool. So that's dark mode done. Right, we're rapidly working through our features. We're at midday now, so I'm going to quickly add this image search box thing, and then I don't think I'll add this paste image feedback spinner, but I'll add this image search box, and then I'll do some pranks a bit later and record them, and then the product hunt will be live at 3, and people can check that out. But so last thing is, oh wait, let me commit this code first, and then we'll do a recap of where we're at. Wow, look at those terrible line endings. Okay, let's. Okay, these just got some hanging carriage returns here. Just going to get rid of because those bug me. All good, done. Implemented dark mode. Implement dark mode. Git push, you can check that out if you want. And I'll push it up to Piku as well, and you can test it on the real site. So git push Piku. So this deploys to the actual, this deploys to castpranker.com. So let's go to castpranker.com. Castpranker.com and just check that we have a fav icon, we have dark mode, we have this thing, some stuff. It's all good. It's looking good. What else have we? Ah, there's that bug again. Anyway, let's pretend that doesn't happen. Dark mode. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so we've committed. Let's go back to review what we've done here. So we registered a domain name. We did some research and prototyping, like finding some stuff that kind of does what we want already, so we can base it off that. We've built the app. We've done some design stuff, like some logos and icons and stuff using Inkscape. Published it on GitHub. We've deployed it to our server, to our domain name, castpranker.com. Is that what it's called? Keep forgetting the name. Castpranker. Yep. And our launch is ready to go. The only thing that's left for the launch really is, well, I'm going to do this one more feature. And then I'm going to stop the stream and I'm going to go away and try and capture my family getting pranked in real time. And then I'll upload that video onto the product hunt. And if you want, you can give the product hunt an upvote once it goes live in 3 hours time. But I'll just do this last thing, which is this image search. So we want a little UI here for launching Google image search, just so it's easy to get some a good prank image. Close all these down. Alrighty, so image search, last feature. Okay, what we want to do is add below our toolbar here. We're going to add a little thing called div id equals maybe I should add it in here. So I'll go P, put a P tag, and I'll go input. What does that look like? Okay, I got a little text input there. I'll have to make the font bigger on that and put a placeholder. So my placeholder will be image search. And I'm going to have a button that's going to be just like I'll do what the other ones have done. Just copy these ones. Oh no, because that's going to be, yep. Okay, so let's make it a button. And the reason is because the code is very generic for finding these Ahrefs and running them. I don't want it to be captured by that code because it does something different, which is launch a search window. So I'm going to do a font awesome magnifying glass icon. So let's look up, is that an actual icon? Let's look for magnifying glass. Search, FA search. Image search, bang, you hit that, it's going to open. Cool, that works well. I'm going to put some styles on that. So before theme switch, I'll put it up closer to toolbar. Really, attribution should, I like the CSS things to be in the order of the page, really. So attribution should go down the bottom, and roughly theme switcher. Before theme switcher, we have, what's this called? ID equals image search. I'm just going to make this font size a bit bigger, and I'm going to give the input box a bit of padding, and the button so I think that button actually looks not too bad. Make it a bit bigger. Make that a bigger font size. No, that doesn't work. Right, I'm gonna have to do it. I have to do the actual in here. So I have to put it in there. Let's give it some rounded corners. What does it look like in non-dark mode? Yeah, that's fine. I'm just giving this stuff a bit of a, just a bit of a border and stuff. So just doing a bit of design. Border radius 3px. Yeah, just a bit more bubbly. Hello. And you click that and it'll open a new window with the image search. You know what? Maybe it's a little bit too big. Yes, it is. So let's take that back to 1.25. All right, now we can hook it up. So we go, okay, let's delete this dark theme stuff from the original thing. Delete that. And we will, here we're going to add our image search. So basically, when you click the search button, you want to look at what's in here, open a new window with an image search. And I'm going to use DuckDuckGo image search because I like it better. Hello. Images. So this is the kind of URL you want. I'm also just going to put a little note here, which is right-click the images to copy them and paste in here. Does that make sense? So, yep. Right-click images to copy them and paste in here. Yeah, I mean, hopefully that's reasonably self-explanatory. So image search, input, and button. All right, we're going to bind that button. So image search button dot click. So when the button is clicked, let's get the value. The query string will be in image search input, and we'll get the val, and then we're going to go window.open okay, what's the syntax for window.open? Window.open syntax. Just like that. URL. Yeah, simple. It's probably going to get blocked by the pop-up blocker. We'll see. Yes. All right. So window.open, and we're going to just take this URL, and we'll get the Q, and Q equals, and bang that on the end. So just going to append the value of Q. I think that should work. Let's see. So we're going to go image search. So we're going to look for funny bear. Yes, no pop-up blocker. Awesome. So we've got these funny bears. Click this guy, right click, copy image, come back here, paste. Hey, funny bear. I can't bear it. Dad pun. Yeah, there we go. And then we just cast that. Cast family room. So that's it. That's the whole app. Maybe I should put some background around this color, so because it's kind of like, yeah, because it's overlaying on top. That looks slightly janky. Wait, I'll commit that, and then I'll do that background thing, and then I think that's it. So commit. What have we got here? Git diff. Image search. So we've got image search done. Image search box. Image search box. Okay, and then the last thing I wanted to do was add some styles to the UIs. So we got background, color, and we want to do var, bg, so that when you overlay and you've got like a image of a big bear, copy image that's like pushing it off the edge. Yeah, see now, I'll make it slightly see-through and I'll give it some padding. Padding 1 EM. Border radius 3px. See, I really want the background color to be see-through. Oh, look. There's a way of doing that, I'm sure. But I don't know it. I mean, I could just set the opacity to like opacity 0.75, but then that's like, what if I did like 0.9? So you could still just make out there's something behind it, and then, but you could still see the UI pretty well. I reckon that's all right. I'm going to make that padding a bit further on the left and right, because it always looks good when things are slightly wider than higher. Yeah, so when you're not zoomed on, when you're not focused, it looks like that. And then when you focus, it looks like that. How do I turn off spell check? HTML, turn off spell check. Spell check equals false in the content editable. Wait, let me commit this first. Make UIs have background. And then editor content editable, spell check equals false. Because you don't need just pranks spelt correctly. Let's get another bear. Come on, where's another funny bear? Oh, cute. Cute bears. Yep. So, delete you. All right, so spell check's turned off. Image search works. These things, do I need those subscripts? Too complicated. Same with this, undo and redo. People know how to do that. Anyway, I'll leave those, but I'll take off the, oh, but what if someone wants to write E equals MC squared? Yeah, okay. I've got to keep the subscripts because I might want to put like a, oh crap. Might want to put a funny Einstein. So funny Einstein. Oh, I need to hook up the enter key. See, when I'm in here and I hit enter, nothing happens. But a person would expect that something happens. So here's funny Einstein. Wait, that's too funny. This one is too funny, but this one is just the right funny. Whoa, that's big. Yeah, it'd be good if you could resize images, but I'm not going to code that today. But that's good enough. Look at that. You cast that, your kids go, what? All right, let's get the enter key working. Okay, what did I just do? I did git diff, nothing. So enter key working, this is the last thing. This is the last thing, and then it's launch time in a few hours. 2.5 hours. Okay, so image search button, well, let's break this out into a function, which is function search. And both image search button dot click should search, and also image search input on key up. If the keys, I think the key code is 13. If ev.keycode equals 13. I think that's the enter key, right? It's been the same way for like, since as long as I've been programming. The good old enter key code. Funny baby. Yeah, that was the enter key. Works perfectly. Look at those babies. Cool. Hooray. So, all right. Now, let me commit that and push it live, and then you can test it on your own families and households. Okay, so what do I do here? Add enter key to search. Git push piku to deploy it. That's deployed. And now we go to castpranker.com. There it is, the full app, ready to roll. Okay, does this actually work? Funny Einstein. Yeah, it does. Okay, no pop-up blocker. Whoa, scary Einstein. Yeah, all right, so that's the full app. You can turn this red, you can delete this, then you can go cast, and you can send it somewhere else. Great. I mean, so that's basically the whole app. And I think what I'm going to do now is log off for a bit. I'm going to finish up this stream. So thank you all very much for watching. And I'm going to go away and test this out on my family when they get back. See if I can capture some video of running one of these pranks. Then I'm going to upload that video to the product hunt. So if you go to producthunt.com/posts/castpranker, which I'll paste in there, and I'll also paste the URL, castpranker. Then at 3 p.m. today, well, in 2.5 hours at midnight San Francisco time, you can give that an upvote on Product Hunt, and I should have a couple more videos of using it live. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and it was fun building this, and I'll see you in a couple of hours for the Product Hunt launch. See you later.